Thanks to the existence of numerous archival photographs of the Pisac archaeological complex, the structures can be compared in their past and present states. This allows us to identify which areas were restored and which remained in a condition close to their original form. Let us begin with the building closest to the entrance. In the photograph taken before restoration, evidenced by the chaotically scattered stone blocks, it is clear that part of the structure was almost completely destroyed. At the same time, a substantial section survived either fully or partially. In the photograph of the corner, it can be seen that a row of niches was preserved, while on the side wall only the lintels are missing, along with literally a single block. The absence of a lintel indicates that this was a fallen block rather than a niche of smaller size. A view from the entrance side of the destroyed section shows that only the rear wall survived, while the entire corner was almost completely destroyed down to ground level. Some of the blocks were simply stacked on top. At present, the building has been fully restored, including the section of the wall with cylindrical protrusions. The differences between the restored masonry and the authentic one are discussed in a separate video, linked in the description. The building opposite the Intihuatana was destroyed much more severely than the previous one, below the level of the niches. Only a small section with 2 niches survived to the present day, with minimal modifications. This cannot be said about the niche at the entrance. In the archival photograph, this element is absent. The building was not fully restored, and therefore its appearance remains close to what it was a century ago. The next building, relatively small in size compared to the others, can now be seen only in the form of a foundation, literally just a few courses of masonry. Slightly higher, a section of the entrance opening is visible. In the old photograph, only a cluster of blocks can be seen. Neither the perimeter nor the entrance is discernible. Therefore, the maximum that could have survived is the foundation, while the area that stands out with a lighter color is the result of restoration. Nearby is another building where 2 intact walls with niches and cylindrical bosses can now be seen. Its similarity to the first building discussed is obvious. And just as in that case, one entire wall is the result of restoration. In the old photograph, only a single wall can be seen to have survived. Let us move on to the second small building. Today, it looks impressive, with the characteristic inward inclination of the walls and a trapezoidal passage. In the old photograph, the wall opposite the entrance matches the modern one in height. In an image where restoration work had already begun, 5 courses of masonry are visible, and the opening is not yet completed. In an even earlier photograph, this section of the wall is completely absent. Therefore, the wall with the passage and niches is the result of restoration work. Now, let us turn to the best preserved building near the Intihuatana. Here is a view from above. In terms of size and the number of niches, it is close to the first building, and therefore it could have been used as a reference during restoration. The damage affected the section of the wall near the opening, but the placement of some niches can still be determined from the remains of their lower parts. The remaining walls have survived almost unchanged. Restoration work here was minimal, and at the same time this building is rarely visited, with most people simply passing by. Restoration has had almost no impact on the Intihuatana itself. Both the gnomon and the masonry below it have remained in the most authentic state possible. However, it should be taken into account that the level of the passage suggests that the original masonry level was most likely significantly higher, and that the structure originally resembled the Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu. Only the walls up to the height of the bedrock base have survived to our time, meaning that the structure was dismantled almost by half. The adjacent building is almost entirely the result of restoration, traces of which are visible in all areas. This is discussed in more detail in a video dedicated to the differences between ancient and modern stoneworking traces in Pisac. The building, made of rough stone set in mortar, has remained virtually unchanged over the past 100 years. Who built it, when, and for what purpose in a completely different architectural style remains an unanswered question. As a result, almost all buildings suffered damage to varying degrees. Some were partially restored, while others remained almost unchanged. For this reason, Pisac deserves special attention, as it provides an opportunity to compare ancient and modern stoneworking techniques. And thanks to many authentic sections, it allows us to appreciate the craftsmanship of the ancient builders. Thank you for watching. See you next time.